Picture this. You're sitting in your living room, Texas suburbs, just relaxing. It's late evening, it's quiet. Maybe you're unwinding after a long day. And then you hear it.
Oh, the scratching sound.
Exactly. Just this faint, rhythmic scratching sound coming from the bathroom ceiling right above your head. Your first thought is probably, oh, great, a mouse. Or maybe you just write it off as the house settling.
Right, you hope it's the house settling.
Yeah, but what if that sound isn't a mouse? Or a raccoon? Or just the wind? What if it's actually a flock of European invaders that are actively, right in that moment, turning your home into a major fire hazard?
It's a totally different kind of home invasion.
Yeah.
And, it's one that most homeowners are completely blind to. We are so conditioned to view birds as these, pleasant backyard visitors. The cheerful chirping at the feeder, the flash of color in the trees.
Totally.
But when modern architectural design meets highly motivated wildlife, the results can be quietly disastrous.
Quietly disastrous. That collision course is exactly what we are unpacking today. Welcome to the Deep Dive. I'm your host, and today we're looking at a huge stack of field reports, biological studies, and tactical guides from a veteran-owned wildlife defense squad out in Tomball, Texas. They're called the Critter Team.
And I'm thrilled to dive into this, because looking at these case studies, it completely shatters this Disney-fine idea we have of birds as harmless neighbors.
Oh, absolutely. Our mission today is to figure out exactly why seemingly harmless birds like sparrows, starlings, grackles are actually incredibly dangerous to residential properties. Plus, we're going to dig into the totally bizarre legal minefield of removing them and how this local team provides basically the ultimate defense.
Yeah, the legal side alone is going to blow people's minds. But to truly understand how a bird can take down a modern home, you kind of have to look at the environment we've built for them first. You have to understand the geography of a place like Tomball.
Right. Okay, so let's set the scene for the listener. Tomball sits at the northwest edge of Harris County, right along State Highway 249. It's about 33 miles north of Houston.
Which is an area experiencing just explosive human growth.
Massive growth. You have these brand new, huge master plan communities, places like Greenlock Farms, Amira, Woodtrace, just being dropped directly inside dense old-growth Texas tree lines. You've got creek drainages, nature preserves like Clibwoods.
And that juxtaposition, that mix, is exactly what creates the crisis. Because if you think about what a bird actually requires to thrive, it's a specific trifecta.
Yeah.
They need elevated shelter to hide from ground predators, they need a consistent water source, and they need structural cavities to build warm, secure nests.
Okay.
So when we clear-cut parts of a forest to build a sprawling suburban neighborhood, we aren't destroying their habitat. We're accidentally upgrading it. We're providing an endless buffet of those exact three things.
Okay, let's unpack that upgrade. Because the irony here is just staggering. Homeowners buy into these brand new builds and they think, well, if it's new construction, new means bug-proof, it means weatherproof, and it absolutely means bird-proof.
Yeah, that is a huge misconception.
Right, because our sources point out a massive structural flaw in almost every modern home. The exhaust vents, your standard dryer vents, bathroom fan vents, kitchen range hoods, they all terminate on the outside of the house.
And historically, builders just cover those terminations with these cheap plastic flap-style covers. They're just designed to push open when the air blows out and drop closed when the air stops.
But think of those plastic flaps like a doggy door in a hurricane. They're designed to let air out, but they offer zero structural resistance from the outside in.
Literally zero. A bird essentially uses its beak like a little crowbar. They just push their heads against the plastic slab, pop it open, and walk right in. It is effortless.
Wow. And once they're inside that ductwork, it's warm, it's dark, it's totally sheltered from the brutal Texas weather and predators. It's VIP housing.
It really is.
Yeah.
And we need to talk about who exactly is breaking in. Because, not all birds are looking to colonize your bathroom fan. The primary infiltrators documented here are house sparrows and European starlings.
The European invaders I mentioned earlier. And I want to dive into this because the backstory is wild. These birds aren't even supposed to be in Texas. Or North America, for that matter.
Not at all. It's crazy.
In 1890, this pharmaceutical guy named Eugene Schieffelin released about 60 European starlings into Central Park in New York. Why? Because he was part of an acclimatization society. His goal was literally to introduce every bird ever mention in a William Shakespeare play to North America.
I mean, it's widely considered one of the most disastrous ecological decisions in American history.
Right.
From those original 60 birds released in New York, the population just exploded across the continent to over 200 million.
200 million.
Yeah, and because they're invasive, they are incredibly aggressive competitors for nesting space.
And when they get into your vents, they have very different architectural styles than the sparrows, right?
Very different. So house sparrows are smaller. Their evolutionary advantage is just pure resourcefulness. They pack dry nesting material like grass, weeds, trash tightly into very tiny confined spaces that other birds would just ignore.
Okay, and the starlings.
Starlings are larger, stockier, and way more aggressive. They will push through that flap vent and build a nest so incredibly massive and dense that it can completely block the airflow of a 6-inch duct.
Wait, hold on. You're telling me a starling packing some dry grass into a metal tube is enough to create a catastrophic fire hazard? Because if we're talking about dryer vents, aren't modern dryers built with thermal fuses to prevent exactly that kind of fire?
That is the exact false sense of security most homeowners have.
Yeah.
Yes, your dryer has a thermal fuse, but a thermal fuse is designed to blow when the internal drum temperature hits a sudden, catastrophic spike.
Oh, I see.
A block vent, however, causes a slow, insidious bake. Here's the physics of what actually happens. When your dryer runs, it is exhausting hot, wet air saturated with moisture from your clothes, and it's also carrying highly flammable lint.
Okay, so this wet, lint-filled air travels down the duct.
Right. But then it hits this dense wall of dry grass and feathers left by the starling. The moisture condenses against that blockage. This effectively pastes the flammable lint directly onto the dry grass, creating this solid brick of highly combustible papier-mâché.
Oh, wow.
And because the air can't escape, the dryer works harder, it runs longer cycles. The appliance just slowly bakes this brick of lint and grass over weeks or months. It dramatically lowers the ignition threshold.
That is terrifying.
Eventually, a single spark from the heating element, or honestly just the sustained ambient heat, is enough to ignite it. And once fire starts inside a metal tube inside your walls, the structural damage is incredibly fast.
It's literally a slow-cooking bomb in your house. And even if it's not the dryer vent, say it's just the bathroom exhaust fan, it's still a massive issue, right? A blocked bathroom vent means all that moisture from your shower has nowhere to go.
Exactly. You get humidity building up inside your ceiling cavity, which leads directly to wood rot and black mold. And on top of that, the sources highlight a very serious biological hazard.
Right, the biohazard.
The health implications are heavily documented. Bird droppings inside your vents or your attic space can harbor a fungus that causes a disease called histoplasmosis.
Histoplasmosis. How does that actually jump from a bird's nest in the attic down to the humans living in the house, though?
It's an airborne respiratory infection. When the droppings dry out up there, the fungus produces these microscopic spores. If a bird is nesting near your HVAC intake, or if your central air system creates negative pressure in the house, it can literally pull air from the attic cavity straight down into your living room.
You're just invisibly circulating fungal spores through the breathable air of the home.
Yeah, exactly. It presents symptoms very similar to severe pneumonia, and it's particularly dangerous for children, the elderly, or anyone with a compromised immune system.
So hearing all this, I'm putting myself in the shoes of the listener. You hear the chirping in the vent. You understand the fire risk, the fungal spores. The immediate temptation is to think, okay, I'll just wait a few weeks for the baby birds to fly away. I'll take a wire coat hanger, scoop the dry grass out myself, and then go to the hardware store, buy a better vent cover, and slap it on.
Please don't do that. It is the single most common mistake homeowners make, and it almost always fails because it ignores both the biology of the bird and the aerodynamics of the house.
Okay, let's break that down. First, the biology.
Starlings and house sparrows possess a trait called site fidelity.
Meaning they remember exactly where they live.
It's deeper than just remembering the yard, though. They imprint on the specific microclimate of that exact cavity. They actually navigate using magnetic fields and solar cues to return to the exact same geographical coordinates year after year.
Like a built-in GPS.
Exactly. If they successfully raised a brood in your bathroom vent this spring, their internal GPS is locked onto that specific vent. They will be back next spring.
So if you just buy an off-the-shelf plastic cover from a big box store, they already know how to defeat it. They will just break in again.
They'll pop it right open. But the second issue, and honestly the much more dangerous one, is the aerodynamics. This is where DIY becomes actively lethal. Every appliance in your home has a specific CFM rating, cubic feet per minute.
That's the volume of air it needs to expel to function safely,
Yeah.
right?
So if you try to outsmart the bird by just screwing a piece of tight metal mesh over your dryer vent, you are physically restricting the exhaust flow.
You're creating a bottleneck.
A massive bottleneck. The air pressure backs up into the appliance. You create a backdraft problem. Not only does this ruin the appliance motor, but it replicates the exact same fire hazard as the bird's nest.
Mm.
You've just replaced a grass blockage with a metal blockage.
Wow. You really need hardware specifically engineered to allow the required CFM airflow for that exact appliance while also providing physical resistance against a highly motivated animal.
Precisely. It requires calculated hardware.
Okay, so you have the physics of airflow, the biology of site fidelity, the fire risks, the spores. It's a lot. But what truly blew my mind in these sources is that even if you somehow manage all of that perfectly yourself, you still can't just climb a ladder and pull a nest out of your vent, because you are walking straight into a legal minefield.
Oh, yeah. Wildlife control is not just about home maintenance. It is an exercise in strict legal compliance. Because the sky over North America is heavily regulated by federal law.
Let's trace this back because it explains so much of the current headache. In the early 1900s, there was the plume trade, basically hunting birds for their feathers to put on women's hats. And it was absolutely decimating bird populations across the continent.
It was an ecological disaster.
So to stop it, the U.S. and Great Britain signed the Migratory Bird Treaty Act in 1918. It essentially made it a federal crime to pursue, hunt, take, capture, or kill any migratory bird or mess with their nests or eggs.
And that law is still fiercely enforced today, which is why the sources break down the birds you'll encounter in Texas into 3 very distinct legal categories.
Okay, the first category is the unprotected species. This is the house sparrow and our Shakespeare-loving European starlings. Because they are non-native invasive species, they do not receive any federal protection.
Right. The Texas Parks and Wildlife Department allows their nests, eggs, and the birds themselves to be removed at any time without a special permit.
That gives a professional team the flexibility to clear out a starling fire hazard immediately. But then you move to the second category, the grackles.
Oh, the Grackles.
If you've spent any time near the commercial corridors of Tomball, especially along Highway 249 or FM 2920, you know these birds. They form these massive, deafeningly loud flocks in parking lots. They blanket grocery stores. They coat cars and droppings.
Yeah, they are everywhere. Now, grackles generally don't build nests deep inside enclosed dryer vents the way starlings do, but they will absolutely use your roofline, your gutters, and your chimney cap as roosting perches. And the sheer volume of droppings they produce creates massive structural corrosion and biohazards.
But legally, dealing with them is a completely different ballgame.
Totally different. Common grackles are native migratory birds. That means they are fully protected under that Migratory Bird Treaty Act. You cannot simply trap and remove them. However, there is a critical, highly specific legal loophole.
The nuisance loophole.
Exactly. State guidance notes that no permit is required to control grackles if they are officially considered a nuisance or if they're actively causing a public health hazard.
Wait, but control doesn't mean you can just eradicate them, right?
Correct. In professional practice, controlling a protected grackle means using deterrence and exclusion. You don't directly remove the birds. You alter the architecture of the environment to make it physically impossible for them to land.
Oh.
You install calculated physical barriers, specialized bird spikes on landing ledges, tension netting over roosting zones. You basically annoy them into relocating, and timing is everything here. The most effective window for grackle deterrence is late winter and early spring, well before they have established active nests.
Because once eggs are laid, your options drop to 0.
Exactly 0.
Okay, so the state gives you a pass on invasive species and a loophole for grackles if they're a health hazard. It sounds like as long as you can prove they're a nuisance, you're in the clear.
You'd think so, but that logic completely falls apart the moment you encounter the third category, the untouchables.
The chimney swifts.
Yes. If your home is anywhere near the wooded areas, like Club Woods or Face Adway Nature Center, you will encounter the chimney swift. They are a native species, and they are fully federally protected. There is absolutely 0 nuisance loophole for a chimney swift nest.
0. So if they build a nest in your chimney, they cannot be disturbed at all during their nesting season, which runs from April to October. You literally just have to live with them until the fall.
You do. You have to wait until they naturally migrate. This is why misidentifying a chirp in a chimney isn't just an oops moment. If an uncertified contractor or a well-meaning homeowner assumes they are hearing an unprotected invasive starling,
And they reach into a chimney and clear out a nest of protected chimney swifts.
they are committing a federal crime. We are talking severe fines, potential jail time. Correct identification is legally required before a single feather is touched.
So we have aggressive invasive birds turning exhaust vents into slow-cooking fire traps, native birds contaminating attics with fungal spores, and a legal system that will drop the hammer on you if you mistake one for the other. It feels impossible. How does a homeowner actually solve this?
You need a system. What these sources reveal is a massive flaw in the traditional home services industry, the fractured chain of custody. Think about how pest control usually works.
Right.
A slick salesman comes out, does a quick assessment, and sells you a package. Then the company subcontracts the actual manual labor out to someone else entirely, someone who wasn't even there for the initial inspection.
Right. Context is completely lost. Things get missed. And then when the vent fails 6 months later, the salesman blames the subcontractor blames the salesman, and the homeowner is just stuck with the bill.
Exactly. And the reason the Critter Team's operation out in Tomball is highlighted in these sources is because they explicitly reject that model. They apply a military-style closed loop of accountability.
Which makes sense because the founder, Mike Garrett, is a 20-year veteran of the U.S. Army. And you can see that military mindset applied directly to home defense. They do not use subcontractors.
Never. The exact certified technician who inspects the vulnerability on day one is the exact same person who engineers the solution, installs the hardware, and puts their name on the written warranty.
And that word engineered is vital. Because of the airflow physics we talked about earlier, you can't just use chicken wire and expanding foam. Expanding foam is useless. Birds will chew right through it. The Critter Team technicians actually hold specialized credentials like Bird Barrier Certified Installer and Ridge Guard certification.
Meaning they actually study the aerodynamics of exclusion.
Precisely. They use heavy-duty, galvanized, or powder-coated steel vent covers that won't crack in the brutal Texas summer heat. The lever and mesh designs are mathematically calculated to maintain the exact required exhaust flow for a dryer or a bathroom fan while creating an impenetrable, chew-proof fortress against the wildlife.
And it's a rigorous 5-step tactical process. Step 1, species identification. They figure out exactly who is in the vent to ensure they aren't breaking federal law. Step 2, a full exterior inspection.
Because they don't just fix the one vent making noise, right? They check every exhaust termination on the house. Because if a starling is locked out of the bathroom, its site fidelity will just drive it 3 feet over to the dryer vent.
Exactly. They check everything. Step 3 is the actual legal removal of the nest and the birds. Step 4 is paramount disinfection. They clean out the hazardous droppings and apply treatments to neutralize those airborne histoplasmosis spores we discussed.
Vital step.
And finally, step 5 is the installation of that engineered exclusion hardware to break the bird's site fidelity permanently.
It's an unbroken chain of responsibility from inspection to installation. So, what does this all mean for you listening right now in Tomball or the surrounding Northwest Harris County areas? It means you're living in a beautiful but highly vulnerable environment.
Very vulnerable.
The nature preserves and green corridors that make the area so desirable are the exact same features that draw massive bird populations. And the standard exhaust vents on modern homes basically roll out the red carpet for them to move right in.
House sparrows and European starlings will eagerly turn those vents into literal fire traps and biological hazard zones. And because of the incredibly strict federal laws surrounding the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, this is absolutely not a weekend DIY project. You need certified, precise, and durable structural solutions.
And that's exactly what this veteran-owned team provides. The Critter Team is available 24/7, including holidays, serving Tomball and the Northwest Harris County area. If you are hearing those scratching sounds or seeing birds hovering around your roofline, do not wait for the nest to get fully established.
Definitely don't wait.
You can get a free phone consultation right now by calling them at 281-667-0171. A quick conversation can narrow down exactly what you're dealing with before nesting season gets totally out of hand.
You know, it really is a fascinating dynamic to consider. We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars building these modern homes, making them these airtight, energy-efficient fortresses to protect us from the elements.
Yeah, but the house still has to breathe.
Exactly. And the very exhaust points designed to let our houses exhale become the exact weak points that nature exploits to move right in. It forces you to ask, as we continue to push our suburbs deeper into the wild, what other invisible vulnerabilities are baked into the standard design of the places we feel safest.
That is a wild thought. And looking at the history of these laws, the biology of the birds, it makes you wonder about the future, too.
It does. It raises an incredibly complex question that wasn't fully apparent a century ago. As climate change continues to alter traditional migration patterns, pushing protected birds into completely new urban environments.
Are we going to see a clash?
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm.
Are we going to see a day where the strict protections of the 1918 Migratory Bird Treaty Act clash so heavily with urban safety and structural hazards that we are forced to rewrite a century of federal wildlife law?
Wow, it's a heavy thought to end on. The lines between nature, law, and our living rooms are blurring faster than we realize. So the next time you're sitting on your couch and you hear that faint, rhythmic scratching sound coming from the ceiling, you'll know exactly what's testing the defenses of your fortress.